Good morning. So, January is our month of faith, and I'm going to be talking about faith. Next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about faith and manifestation for the rest of the month. The talk title today is Beyond Belief. Beyond belief, because it happens to us all the time. That we have our beliefs, we have our belief systems, we have the way that we live, move, and have our being in the world, and we are consistently brought beyond that. Faith is the building block of our lives. It is what you have faith in that's true for you. Your concepts of your life is wrapped around those truths. Whatever it is you have faith in, that is. If you have faith that the world is a certain way, if your belief system tells you the world is a certain way, then for you, it is. For the person sitting next to you, not so much. Because they have a whole different belief system. They have a whole different perception of the world. Your personal truths with a small t, are true for you. They're based on your beliefs and perceptions, which may or may not, in fact, be the actual truth with a capital T. Either way, your personal truth is created by your faith, and it is changed by your faith. The perceiving power of the mind linked with the power to shape substance. That's the classical Fillmore definition of faith. It's our power of faith we use to see or perceive the possibilities and the potentials that life has in store. It allows us to perceive beyond our belief system, beyond what we believe is. It's our power of faith which empowers us to know there's more. And it's our power of imagination which reaches out and grasps it. Our power of faith brings it into focus. It brings it into focus, the focus of our minds, where we can use our wisdom and understanding and our inherent knowledge and experience of the Christ and the truth to bring a new reality into our experience. When we base our ideas on abundance, prosperity, wholeness, and healing, order, and guidance, we shape for ourselves a life of greater fulfillment. If we focus on the presence and power of the truth with a capital T, and allow our own truths to take back seats sometimes. Sometimes we have to do that. We have to, this is what I think, but what I think isn't serving me so much. How do you know it isn't serving you so much? You take it to your heart. How does it make you feel? Does it make you go, ah! Oh, this is bad, that's bad, that person's bad, that person's bad. The sky is falling. If so, it's not serving you. It's not serving you one little iota. It's time to move on. And it's your faith that empowers you to do that. Faith in the goodness of spirit, that there is something else, that there is something better, that you can move into a greater experience beyond your belief. It's important to know and to remember that while, yes, we do create our own personal world, we create our own personal reality in which we live, move, and have our being through our beliefs and perceptions, we are also kept involved and tied into our immediate experience through those same beliefs and perceptions. The longer you hold your beliefs and perceptions, the longer your life is going to be as it is. If you want something different, something has to change. And guess what? The world around you isn't going to change. It's going to do what it does. So where does the change come from? Not a rhetorical question. Yes, absolutely. It's through your power of faith that you are able to move beyond your immediate experience of your life and catch a glimpse of the greater experience that Spirit is moving in, around, and through you. Think of it, folks. Every moment of every day, you are being prepared. Spirit is setting you up for what's next. You are being given the skills. You are being given the connections out in the world. You are having people brought into your lives. Everything is working towards your good, so that whatever comes down the pike, you're going to have whatever it is you need to deal with it, to handle it, to move through it, and to bring that experience of whatever it is into the greater experience of your life as a whole. There are times when the greater experience is not always an experience we wish to have. Often it's quite the opposite. We have had a spate, I believe that's the word, of that in our congregation in the past couple weeks. We have had people going to the hospital. We have had people having accidents. We have had people getting ill. There's been all sorts of things going on. That's just within our community. They're often incomprehensible things. An incomprehensible thing is something what was not in your brain, in your life, in your perceptions, in anything you thought. It wasn't there before. And all of a sudden, there it is. Sometimes we bring it on ourselves, quite often we don't. Life happens. We hear all this saying, well, God brought it to me to make me stronger. Bull. You will be made stronger through the presence of Spirit, through the activity of love, life, and Spirit that interacts with everyone and everything in your life. But I am of the belief, in my belief system, that sometimes things just happen. They don't happen for a purpose. They don't happen for a reason. Those come afterwards. We live in a world of relativity. We live in a physical world. And part of that physical world is chance. You can be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and stuff can happen. That's my own personal belief system. It's also my personal belief system, as I just said, that whatever that stuff is, Spirit will bring you through. It's our faith that empowers us into managing this incomprehensible thing in the time it takes. We begin to manage it, and we manage it until we master it. And you will master whatever it is. It takes the presence and the provision of God's love, courage, and strength for yourself and for all of those around you to move you through it. And the first step is to release and move through the fear of the unknown. To do that, we rely on faith. We rely on grace to bring you forward into what is next with the assurance that it will be as good as it can be. Now, that doesn't mean when we say as good as it can be, we're not talking about as good as it was, because there's a possibility that that's never going to happen. We're talking about immediately after, when you're in the unknown, when that fear is running higgly-piggly about in your brain and in your emotions and in your feelings, when doubt is flashing across your screen. That is what Spirit moves you out of. That is what your faith moves you out of. And that is what becomes better. I know for me, going on 23 years ago, as most of you know, my son David died. Incomprehensible thing. One day he's here, next day he's not. 22 years later, I still feel it. You're going to feel it. But the way to describe it, I've heard it described, and it describes it perfectly. The waves of the grief and the fear and the whatever become more distant from each other. We're able to create a world where it's not okay that it happened, but it happened. That I'm okay within this world because of my belief system and perceptions of life, of spirit, of the ability to move forward and create something out of what has been placed before me. I continue to do the best I can with it. So my family continues to do the best they can with it. His name is up on that tree. It's faith that empowered me to do it, even though I didn't know what I had faith in. I was certainly not happy with God. And then in all of my prayers and thinkings and being, God didn't have anything to do with it. It was life. God's Spirit had everything to do with moving me forward. In the same sense, on a better note, back in 1982, way back machine. Yes, it was incomprehensible that I would be here today. Totally incomprehensible. the lifestyle I had, what I was doing, I was having fun. As many of us were back then. And it was inconceivable that I could be a minister and have a church and et cetera, et cetera. Inconceivable. But it happened. And it happened because of faith. It happened because I had this idea that, I'd like to do that. But I didn't think I was smart enough, strong enough, educated enough, shiny enough, or whatever enough. Till one day I picked up a pamphlet that talked about ministerial school, talked about everything it took to at least get an interview. And I looked at that, I said, I got that, I can do that, I got that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And suddenly, it became comprehensible. And I started to step into it. And it took 6 years for me to prepare, to even get an interview. I was turned down for my first interview. I didn't even get the interview. The next year I got it. I was one of over 600 people that applied. I was one of 300 and change who got an interview. I was one of 32 in my class. That's what faith can do. That's what faith can do. And that was in 1995. It's been a ride. But it's faith that has brought me all the way here. And it's faith that's going to bring me to whatever's next. When we're going through these things that pop up and bring that, I don't want to say illusion of fear, because when you're in it, there ain't no illusion. You're in it, and it's the storm. And that's what this scripture is about. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, let's go across the other side. And leaving the crowd, they took him with them on a boat, just as he was. And other boats were with him, and there was a great storm of wind arose, and the waves beat into the boat, and the boat was already filling, but he was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. And they woke him up and said, Teacher, do you not care if we perish? And he awoke, kind of grumpy. And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased. There was a great calm. And he said to them, Why are you afraid? Have you no faith? They were filled with awe and said to one another, Who then is this that even the sea and the wind obey him? And he was back to sleep. The Christ presence of you is always there, always available. You call forth that Christ presence, and it will calm any storm. It may not be instantly, but it will calm any storm in your life. This tells me that it is the Christ that brings the peace to the tempest of the fear that can rage in our hearts. And it is your power of faith that can bring you beyond your belief and into your greater experience. A greater experience based on what life can be from where you are at this moment. Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. The day set aside to honor a man who stood in faith for a greater idea of equality, a greater idea of justice and compassion for all people. The Reverend King saw beyond the belief in the fear that is the foundation of segregation and discrimination. He had faith in the greater idea that all children of God are equal and deserve to be treated as such. And it's his faith, and that of all of those who have come after him, who keep the flame of equality burning in spite of the attempts by the fearful to extinguish it. We see a lot of that right now, but it's not going to work. We know it's not going to work because we have the faith and we know the truth, the capital T, that all individuals are created in the image and likeness of Spirit, and that image and likeness is love, light, and truth. We are all the same. One divine idea in the mind of God. He had a dream of freedom for all people, which we can hear in the words of a young black female poet, Amanda Gorman, in the closing line of her poem for the new year. Go like this. For every solace can be sourced, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric. In our hearts we hear it, for old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. Be bold, saying this time of year. Be bold, saying time, for when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know that we fought, that what we fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us. It binds us as one. Come over. Join this day that has just begun. Wherever we come together, we will forever overcome. And it is your faith, friends, and it is in your faith that you will forever overcome whatever life puts before you. And you move beyond belief. God blesses you.